ZONF is a mnemonic where Z stands for 0, O stands for the ones. It could be -1 or +1. The number 1, I mean 1, -1. N stands for negative numbers. And then E stands for extremes. So whenever you plug in numbers, make sure you don't restrict yourself with between 0, 1, -1 and all that. You should go for extreme. You can plug in 100 and a -100 also. Extremes. F for fractions. Fractions in the sense when you have a question like 0 less than x, x is greater than 0, doesn't always mean that x is an integer. It could be a fraction also. So this is another trap the GRE puts in. You should be very, very careful. That is the reason if you comprehend this ZONF, if you put it in your mind, keep it registered in your mind, always, there is no chance that you will go wrong in quantitative comparison questions where you have to plug in values. Let me give you an example here. A by B greater than C by B. B is not equal to 0. That's the only information given. There is absolutely no information about A, B or C, right? So quantity A is, I'm sorry, that's not given here. Quantity A is A here and your quantity B is C. You need to identify which quantity is greater, whether A is greater than C or A is less than C or A is equal to C, or you cannot determine from the given information, right? The common mistake the students do here, what do they do here? When A by B is greater than C by B is given to you, the normal instinct would be to cancel off the B's and write down A is greater than C. Can you see that this is a wrong approach? There is no information about B. It's just given that it is not equal to 0. So let me give you an example. Assume that A and C are positive. Let me take this case where A, B and C are positive. Let me plug in the values here. Suppose I say B is equal to 1. When I say B is equal to 1 and I say that A and C are all positive numbers, then A by B will be equal to A and C by B will be equal to C. Then you know that when A by B is greater than C by B, obviously you can directly say that A is greater than C. That is quantity A is greater. But what if B is equal to -1? A and C are still positive. Assume that A and C are still positive. Let me take values like, for example, B is -1. Suppose I take the values as 3 and 2, right? Suppose B is -1. Then you know that -3 is not greater than -2, right? -3 is actually less than -2. So in that case, A will be less than C. Only if A is less than C and B is equal to -1, you will have A by B greater than C by B. So for negative numbers, it does not hold good. So for negative numbers, quantity B is greater, negative integers I mean, and for positive integers, quantity A is greater. So you don't have a conclusive inference here. So answer actually is option D. That is, the relationship cannot be determined, is option D, which is the correct choice here, right? That's for the mnemonic ZONF. Now, how do you implement the mnemonic pies? What does pi stand for? P stands for break it into parts. Given a word problem like this, this is where you use the mnemonic pies, break it into parts or draw a picture. I stands for information, connect the information. E stands for framing an equation. S stands for solving the equation. So once you do all these three, framing an equation, so when you have a problem here, your 95% of the time spends on doing all these things. Just the 5% or maybe just less than that, maybe just 1% in solving. Solving it is very, very simple in competitive exams. You just need to break the word problems into parts. Again, all those enrolled students, you would have encountered how to solve word problems in a separate webinar link on our platform. Let me look at this problem. A particular brand of vodka contains 40% alcohol. I'm going to try to draw a diagram here to understand this better. I have a brand of vodka. I'm going to say I don't have the first statement is a particular brand of vodka contains 40% alcohol. So alcohol content here is 40%. So 40% is alcohol. Suppose I say this is X ml of vodka is present here. So 40% of X will be 40X by 100. This is the quantity of vodka that I have. Then a glass of wine contains 16% alcohol. So this is wine here. This contains 16% alcohol. So what is alcohol concentration here? It is just 16%. 16%. Right? Now, how much orange juice which contains no alcohol? So I'm going to add it. Should be mixed with 60 ml of vodka. So X is actually 60 is given to you. There is 60 ml of vodka. How much orange juice? Orange juice contains 0% alcohol. How much orange juice should be added to this? This is your quantity of orange juice that's added. This is a mixtures and allegations problem. Very common problem in all the competitive exams. How much of orange juice? Let me call this as Y ml of orange juice that has to be added to 60 ml of vodka, so that the resulting mixture contains, it is a mixture of vodka and orange juice. So this has got the same alcohol concentration as a glass of wine. So what is the alcohol concentration in wine? It is 16%. So this will have 16% of alcohol. That is the statement that's given here. So what is the total concentration? You are mixing vodka 60 ml with Y ml of orange juice. So the total here is 60 plus Y. But then what is the alcohol concentration? 40x by 100. 40% of X is nothing but 60 here. What is 40% of 60? Which is 24 ml. So 24 ml of alcohol plus 0 ml of alcohol. It's actually 24 ml. That is 16% of 60 plus Y. That's what is given here. So 24 is equal to 16% of, 16% of 60 plus Y. When you solve it, you will arrive the answer as Y is equal to 90 ml. So it's very easy. If you convert that word problem by breaking it into parts, and then I'm drawing a diagram to frame an equation and then solve for an equation. It boils down to a linear equation in one variable. So it's very, very simple if you learn to convert it into a diagram or put it in the form of a table. Right. Now, when it comes to calculation, students normally ask me, ma'am, do we have a calculator here? Yes, you do have an on-screen calculator in GRE. That will pop up whenever it's required, but it's always available there. Right. Now, when you plug in numbers, make sure you follow this PEMDAS rule. Parenthesis, exponents, multiplication or division, addition or subtraction in the order from left to right. It's very, very important. It's like a DMAS, board mass. You must be familiar with all these terms. But then I would suggest that do not use this on-screen calculator unless it is required. It is very important you go for an analytical approach, approximation techniques. As I told you, none of the questions will involve tedious calculations in GRE. So, as much as possible, go for this approximation techniques. Let me give you an example here. Suppose a very simple example, probably this example will not be asked as such in GRE, but then you will have this as an application in data interpretation questions. Suppose you have two fractions here, say 43 by 23. I try to compare this with 45 by 27. Right? Now immediately don't plug in this value 43 divided by 23. Why am I saying this? It takes a lot of time for you to open that calculator and then plug in numbers and write it. As such, I told you this will be mostly a comparison type question, if at all you have a such question in GRE. Comparison type question less than 1 minute or maximum 1 minute. If you take this on-screen calculator, plugging this, your entire 3 minutes will be gone just to open it and plug in the numbers. So where will be the time for you to write the answer there? Right? So go for an analytical approach here. That is, go for approximations. I'm going to approximate it to the nearest tens here. That will be 40 by 20. And then box, approximate it to the nearest tens here, 50 by 30. So, this is 2. And then box, 5 by 3. You know which one is greater here? 2 is greater. 43 by 23 is greater than 45 by 27. Very simple approximation techniques. Very, very important. You need to estimate or approximate to solve a problem, especially in data interpretation, which involves the application of percentages and fractions and decimals. Right. So, this is very important thing. Please do not use the on-screen calculator unless there is a compelling need for you. And there will not be much of a compelling need. If at all there is a very tedious calculation, there will be just only one question of that type. That will also be a very rare thing. Right? Next. Percentages. As I told you, percentages are very, very common in all the competitive exam, leave alone GRE. It will be there for GMAT, CAT, percentages quiz. You will have word problems on percentages. You will surely have word problems on percentages, and also as part of applications in data interpretations. How do you solve percentages? Percentages, don't go for this approach. X percentage of Y is nothing but, that's a formula. X by 100 times, X by 100 times Y. Don't go for this formula here. Go for these shortcuts. Try to express a given percentage in terms of standard percentages. 1% of a number, shift the decimal 2 places to the left. 10% of the number, X by 10, shift 1 decimal to the left. 100% of number, it's the whole number. 50% of the number is half of the number. 25% of the number is quarter of the number. A percentage of B is nothing but B percentage of A. So for example, suppose I say I'm asking you to find out 22% of 33. So a normal common instinct is to write it as 22 by 100 times 33. Don't do this. What should you do? Write this 22% as 10% plus 10% plus 1% plus 1% of 33. 10% of the 33. Shift 2 decimal places to the left. So 0.33. Again 10% will be, 0.33. Right? And then 1% will be 3.3. Again 1% will be 3.3. Instead of the multiplication, division, all those things, the answer is nothing but 7.26. I've just boiled it down to simple addition here because of these standard percentages. Again, suppose the question is asking you to find out 22% of, say, the number 50. Don't do this. Don't do even this. It's very simple. It's nothing but A percentage of B is B percentage of A. So it's nothing but 50% of 22. 50% is half of 22, which is 11. That's all is the answer. So you should be really quick in solving percentages problems. Again, there's a whole webinar video on how to tackle percentages problems on our platform. How to tackle questions on averages. As I told you, spread out the averages. Average arithmetic mean of 4 individuals is 60,000. None of them earn more than 75,000 per annum. Maximum possible numerical value for range. Range is nothing but the maximum value minus the minimum value, and quantity B is 60,000. So how should you approach this problem? There are 4 individuals here, right, whose average income is not more than 75,000. But then it says the average income is actually 60,000 per annum. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to spread this 60,000 among these 4 people here. 60,000. So you know that when I spread this 60,000, I know that the mean has to be 60,000, right? But then it says that I need to find out the maximum possible value of range. Range is maximum value minus the minimum value. Range becomes maximum when the maximum value is really the highest value and the smallest value is really the lowest value. What is the highest value that it can go? The income can go up to 75,000. I'm going to make a little change here. I'm going to make 3 elements, increase it to 75,000, the maximum value. Right? Increase the 60,000. 3 of these, I'm going to increase it to 75,000 here, which means, as you've seen, I've increased it 15,000 units, 15,000 units, 15,000 units. I've increased the 3 values by 45,000 units. The total 3 values have been increased by 45,000 units, since each value is increased by 15,000 units, which means, obviously, to make this mean the same, I have to retain that mean. The mean is not changing here. Since I've increased the total to 45,000 here, I need to somehow balance it. It's like a seesaw. When you're going to increase one quantity to decrease other, you need to, to maintain that balance, you need to decrease the other quantity, right? That is how this mean operates. So I'm going to decrease this by 45,000. So what happens when I decrease it by 45,000? I'm sorry, this is 450,000. 45,000, when you decrease it, I end up with a 15,000 here. Right? So this first one is 15,000 and the rest is 75,000. I have the maximum value for the highest value and the least value for the lowest value. It can't go below this because the maximum value is 75,000. This value cannot go beyond, lower than this. If it's 80,000, I can decrease this further. If it's 90,000, I can decrease still more further. But the maximum value is only 75,000. That's what is given in the question. So when I decrease it from 15,000 The question is asking for the range. Range is maximum value minus the minimum value. 75,000 minus 15,000 is 60,000. So the answer is both the quantities are equal. This is how you need to